Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast, where we focus our lens on business. We will cover the art of business and everything in between. Join your host, Rob Moorman, a seasoned photographer and RV park owner with over 27 years of experience, as he captures insights from industry experts and fellow entrepreneurs. From mastering customer service to igniting creativity, we explore the common threads that weave through successful businesses. Get ready to click, snap, and discover on the Camera Dude Podcast.
Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast. My name is Rob Moorman, your host. I am absolutely, totally stoked about our guest today. You have no idea. I'm a little giddy. I know it sounds weird, but it's a fact that he said yes to be here. Now, I've only met our guest once, and we worked with him for about 4 days in person. I was doing photography, and he was representing his art and community, if you will, of drums. So it's been a while since then. I think that was about 8 years ago, if I remember right. So let's see. Let's follow this. I follow him on many platforms, and I'm always amazed at his talent, drive, skill, business acumen, and ability to be a leader in his industry. So, guys, give a warm welcome to Rich Redmond.
Hey, Rob. What's up, man? Thanks for having me. This is great.
Awesome. I'm glad you're here, and it's good to see your face. It's been a long time, and I'm certainly stoked to have you here and also excited to hear about what you've been up to. So
Sure.
It's nice to see you in person rather than just on the Rich Redmond show, which is phenomenal. I recommend people listen to you and find you pretty much any platform, right?
I think so, yeah. Maybe there's some gaps there, but I mean, we're on the big ones, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I think that's like where the majority of the listenership goes,
That's cool. That's where we are, too. We're lucky to be out there today. Well, Rich, do me a favor. For those that maybe don't know who you are, introduce yourself. Give us a little story about you.
Yeah. Oh my God. My main thing is I'm a drummer. I love the drums, man's first instrument. I've been doing it since 1976. I tell that everybody I've been playing drums since dinosaurs roamed the earth, and it's been a great journey. I just had my 54th birthday, which means I've been playing the drums for, 46, 47, long time, man. I should be better. But anyways, that's my thing. I play the drums, and I've been with this country rocker, Jason Aldean. We're celebrating about 25 years together. So that's kind of a fun landmark. We just noticed that 3 or 4 days ago, his first record dropped 19 years ago. So it's been an action-packed 19 years of, bringing the music to the people and, just trying to entertain the folks out there, mixing country and rock music. And then I do some fun other things. I'm an educator. I do clinicians. I teach online and in person. I play on people's records here in Nashville and my home studio in Los Angeles. Do a little motivational speaking. Yeah, just wear a lot of different hats. But when I get up in the morning, I'm a drummer.
I love it. I love it. Well, and I've always, first of all, congratulations. 25 years with Jason. That's a commitment, number one. And it's obvious that you're part of the family. With him and the band and the crew and the touring, team, if you will. And I think that you make up a big part of that sound. I love the country rock mix, which isn't necessarily new, but you guys carry it very well.
Yeah, thanks. I think, it's all been done in music before. There's 12 notes and a couple of beats that soccer moms love and respond to. But so we just kind of keep regurgitating it and reinventing it. And so, we were past the ball and we took it to another place and then that works. And then it gives permission to another, new generation of people to take the ball and kind of keep moving the needle, it's fun.
That's awesome. Hey, before we move on too far, tell us a little bit. I don't know if, and it's okay either direction. Are you a self-taught drummer? Are you schooled? What is your education behind the scenes in that?
Well, I tell everybody I'm an overeducated rock drummer. So, I'm a child of the 70s. I had Elton John's Greatest Hits, Volume 1 on 8-track, and soon got into all the bands, the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, the Led Zeppelin. I got into all that stuff. And then, started taking lessons as a very young man, and then I just kept investing in myself, and then I went and I got overeducated. I actually got my master's degree in classical percussion, jazz drumming, music education, and have even done a lot of teaching, in the classroom and at schools like, Musicians Institute in Hollywood or the New School in New York City. So I love it. I love education. I have a teacher's heart. And all the guys in my band, I'm the only childless member of my band. It just had never worked out. And all my guys in my band are like, "You're so great with kids, man. You woulda, coulda, shoulda." And I was like, you know what? I have hundreds of ex-students that I have mentored that I keep in touch with. They're kind of like my kids, and they're going on to dream careers, playing in bands, playing stadiums. They're drum techs, they're music educators, they're putting their books out, they're getting accepted to their college of their choice, graduating those colleges. So it's so cool to, I just got a lot of kids all over.
I love it. Well, we have that in common. I'm nearly the same age. I'm 58, so a little older. My wife and I have been married for 28 years, but my joke is we couldn't figure out how to have kids, though, so we never did. The truth is we started this photography studio, and it rocketed, and we ran out of time. And then when we did finally try, we realized we couldn't, but we're okay with that. So God has a sense of humor. I am doing approximately 4,000 school portraits a year. I'm surrounded by kids all day. And many of them, because my business is involved in the community, I see their families anyways, photographing other galas in town and what have you. So
that's a life-changing thing, Rob. I mean, once you create that snapshot in time for all time, I mean, how many people get together, at high school reunions, or like 10 years later, they pull out a dusty yearbook and they look in it and they see this image of like, oh my God, I can't believe I used to wear my hair like that. Voted most likely to whatever, and it's like your image that's impacting life.
Exactly. It's to me, it's really a big responsibility to hold people's legacy in my hands. So in today's world, photography can be immediate, as we know. Take a picture, put it on social media, whatever, and carry on with it that way. But later in life, when you pull those old images back, go into those memories if they're digital, or as you go to your parents' house, right, the old album sitting on mom's table, and you look through those images, some of those people are gone. Maybe they're not with us anymore or whatever. So I think that the family legacy that we're able to create as photographers is a glorious thing, in my opinion. So,
it really is. And you have to have an eye. We have a guy in our band, our guitar player, Kurt. He just has an eye. So if I ever need to have like a nice, get some friends backstage or a press shot, or when my family comes, I'm like, give the phone to Kurt, because he just has an eye on how to frame and perspective and all that stuff. And you either have it, or I guess you could learn it, by studying the greats,
You can. It's really in some ways a lot like drumming. And I'll explain in the sense that you obviously had rhythm, but then you perfected it and the techniques. So photography is the same. People have an eye, they see it, but once they understand the technical controls as creative controls, so you're using them for the science of getting the proper amount of light, but you're also talking about depth of field and composition and subject matter and all of those different things. Yeah. And even today, 28 years behind the camera, I still learn every day. So through my associations, which before we go into that, because that's part of what I want to talk about, because you have honed your skills, obviously, and you're continuing to hone your skills. So that part is fascinating. But before we get into that, a little more banter, I want to ask the big drummer, Rich Redmond, who's your favorite band?
Well, man, that's a hard one.
It is.
I think the band that really piqued my interest in those formative years where, you're a teenager and something catches your ear and you go, wow, I want to do that. That band, The Police, with that pesky Sting, that was a really, really good band, groundbreaking band that mixed like reggae and punk and world music and just great melodies. And they really were just on fire. They had something to prove,
Yeah.
And man, did they. And, Stuart Copeland's drumming obviously was very attractive, very multicultural, had, like I said, a lot of fire. So probably The Police, Van Halen, those were kind of like my entry into the music business, where I was like, I want to do that, whatever that is.
I love it.
I'm a kind of a sucker for heartland rock, like Springsteen, Mellencamp, Steve Earle, and, so maybe that was kind of paving my way towards Nashville. I never thought that this kid from Connecticut would end up in the South. But it worked out great, and I'm happy it happened because now it's really the last place for the music business, and all those suckers from New York and LA are all moving to Nashville, and thank God I'm here. I'm in line. I've been here 27 years. So.
Wow, well, it's home now. It is.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we have that in common. I was afraid to tell you my bands because it might be old school, but I'm a Peter Frampton freak. Absolutely love Frampton. And
show me the way.
This is terrible because I love his drummer, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. I can't remember who it is, but I'm going to look it up here before we get off and talk about. He's absolutely phenomenal. I follow.
I might know.
Okay, who is it?
Oh, well, who are you? Well,
for Frampton, Peter Frampton. Early on, yeah.
Oh God, early on. I know that he ended up using all the big LA session drummers throughout his years, and his current drummer was a mentor of mine, Dan Wojciechowski. He was 5 years older than me, and we were in a lot of the same bands in Dallas, Texas. But the early dude that's on like Frampton Comes Alive, not a household name.
Yeah, it's not, but it should be.
Yeah,
and
good.
I've always thought a drummer that never gets enough airtime, who sadly I've just read fully retired and sold his equipment recently, is Alex Van Halen.
Very underrated drummer because all the attention went to his brother.
Exactly.
But what a kind of romantic tale where he's like, you know what, I can't play with my brother anymore, and just kind of like, I don't want to do it.
And that aspect I can agree with you. As a fan, I was like, God, let's go. So I recently had the chance to see Sammy Hagar play at here in Florida, in Tampa. There's the Florida State Fairgrounds, and there's an amphitheater there. And so obviously he's coming in with Michael Anthony, Vi, Bonham, and putting together the show, and it was over the top. And for what is he, 71, I think? Still has his chops. That guy can sing as if he was still young,
Hagar is like, I think he's actually like 75 years old. He's in great shape. Yeah, he's got a youthful spirit. That's that amphitheater in Tampa. We ended our tour last year there. A reason why I love that place is there's so much room backstage. So it's a great place for like family to visit and to end a tour. Where we bring in like, a coffee truck and like a cigar bar, and everybody just makes a fun day of ending the tour.
It's kind of a wrap party, if you will. And okay. I had spent 10 years in the motion picture industry before photography, so
nice.
I'm familiar with your world and had done a couple of videos with Hart. And unfortunately, I was behind the scenes, not behind the camera, but they never aired those videos. I never found them. I don't know where they went, so kind of interesting.
At least you had fun. At least you had fun shooting them, right?
Well, let's jump into this. I want to learn about you, and I want you, the listeners, to kind of jump in and understand this success journey that Rich went in, and we know that he is behind, he's kind of the engine, if you will, musically with playing the drums for Jason Aldean, and we love that. But this is about Rich. We want to hear your journey and your story. From the moment we met, I was always fascinated by that, and I was like, this guy's cool. If I lived in Nashville, we'd be hanging out.
Yeah, we would.
So it's a good thing. So tell me something here. I'm going to read verbatim off of one of my questions. For new business owners and or musicians, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced early in your career? And, of course, the caveat or the juicy part of that answer is, how did you overcome them?
Sure. Oh, God. Biggest challenges. Well, when I was kicking around Dallas, Texas, like I said, I had gotten my master's degree, and then I, all through doing that, and then for a year, I was kicking around Dallas, and Dallas had a very robust music scene because it was motivated by all the great music schools in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You have the University of North Texas, which is this world-class jazz program. And then at night, while I was getting my master's, I'd be driving into town and playing with amazing top 40 bands. And there was like salsa bands and original rock bands and smooth jazz and big bands. And I would back up people like Steve Allen and Phyllis Diller when they would come through town. It was just a really, really handsome music scene. Got a lot of experience, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was, I turned it into a mantra. I wanted to hear myself on the radio. I wanted to see myself on television. I wanted to travel the world on someone else's dime. How was I going to do that? So I kept hoping that the fat cat with the cigar would walk through into one of the nightclubs I was playing in Dallas, and it never happened in that year that I was trying to save money to get to a coast, in New York or in LA, and I was trying to decide, where do I want to go? God, New York, it's really hard to hail a cab and get your drums in, and it smells horrible in the summer, and it's The snow, yikes. And then there's sunny LA. It's like everybody's got their top down. I mean, of course, you're losing your life on the 405 sitting in traffic, but at least the sun is shining. So that's where I was thinking I was going to go. I was going to wear one of those really bright, multicolored shirts that were popular at the time and play smooth jazz. I was like, that's what I'll do. And I got some auditioning for Trisha Yearwood, Dina Carter, and Barbara Mandrell in Nashville. So I kept going to Nashville, and I was like, my God, people like me here. They were responding positively to my drumming. I had to give my band 2 weeks' notice and go to the watering hole. You got to go to where the action is. And so I knew that I could level up my career if I went to Nashville. And then, of course, when you go, no one cares about in a town like Nashville. It's kind of like they call it a hillbilly Hollywood. They don't care about your accomplishments, your previous accomplishments. They're like, hey, what do you got for us now, kid? Are you going to operate by our rules? So the first 2 years in Nashville were just pretty grim, parking cars, waiting tables, substitute teaching, taking every gig that I could possibly. So it's that kind of like a depressive kind of time where it's like, oh my God, when am I going to get my break? This is horrible. I'm starving. I'm on a high sodium diet here of ramen noodle. And you just have to kind of like overcome. There were many nights that I was kind of like crying in my Haagen-Dazs, but you just have to kind of like persist and stay positive and go out there and crash parties and shake hands and let the world know you exist. And then eventually, 2 years into my journey, I got that audition with my first band leader, which was a gal named Pam Tillis. She was the daughter of Mel Tillis.
Okay.
And it was my first marquee gig. So, I made it those 700 days. I persisted. I didn't leave. I stayed on track, and I got my first job. And once you get your first job, then people start to talk, and they're like, oh, yeah, okay, so this is proven. He's proven it. He can do it one time, and then you just keep rinsing and repeating. And then you cultivate this a reputation, hopefully a reputation that will precede you, So if you could just get through the growing pains of the first couple of years of running your business, the main thing is don't quit. When you quit, you're at the back of the line, So just stay on track, even if you're just making incremental improvements every day.
So what I heard was a lot of great things. First of all is you formulated a plan. You jumped in. You were doing it, and you realized this isn't where I want to be, so you formulated a plan. You almost like a business owner would have a business plan. You made your way to Nashville because you knew that was the place to get found, noticed, if you will. And then you brought yourself in front of the masses, and I have found that a lot of people quit when, in fact, they're only a few feet away, but they couldn't see that.
Classic, yeah.
And you didn't. So that's what's brought you to the level. But I also want to say, and probably another question in here down farther, but let's jump into it now. You also spent time honing your skills and understanding your craft and setting a sound for yourself. You chose, particular drum heads and certain cymbals to get that Rich Redmond sound that you have, which is now married with Jason and what he's doing. But the idea behind that is that you also worked on your craft. I found in photography, a lot of people come in the back door. And I think that's my very next question, so we'll talk about it. But they find photography, they don't understand the camera, but they hang out a shingle, which is now digital these days, and say, hey, I know what I'm doing. And then you see the work they're producing, and it's not ever really going to take them. And I'm not knocking them. I'm here to help. And so I would absolutely invite them into the studio because I teach as well. And many of photographers that I've raised up, I've been blessed to see go past what I do.
Sure.
And they're living a world that's rock star kind of a life in the photography realm. That excites me as a teacher. But what I see is they come in the back door, they learn just a small amount and stop. And I giggle because that's my drumming career, not my photography career, but that was my drumming career. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. So let me say it this way. I'm going to read again here for a second. You and I are both in industries where our craft could be a hobby or a profession. What did you do to set yourself apart from the crowd and get noticed as a professional? And I just mentioned some of it, but kind of tune in to anybody, whatever their art is, their craft, whether it's music or you're jockeying to be a CEO of a big company. how did you get yourself ready and separate yourself from the others?
Sure, yeah. Getting yourself ready is the 10,000 hours. If we all subscribe to the author Malcolm Gladwell's theory of 10,000 hours is the minimum of, practicing a skill set. So was Liberace, did he get his 10,000 hours? Yes. Did Bill Gates get his 10,000 hours? Did Charlie Parker get his 10,000 hours? Easy. I tell people I had tens of thousands of hours because I developed my craft in a dark room studying my instrument by myself. And then once I started to get on stage with people, I would get feedback from people. Hey, kid, you're rushing, you're dragging, you're too loud, you're too soft. That kind of input and kind of being put through my paces is what led to a lot of improvement. And so I was very aware of that, hyper aware of suggestions from people. And then there's just a level of attention to detail, and then your overall professionalism, being over prepared. I mean, there's always going to be drummers that are going to be better than me, but if I have an opportunity, I'm given an opportunity, I'm going to knock it out of the ballpark by being over prepared. When you're over prepared, you can overcome things like nerves. Like, say you have to go in for an audition. You have to know the material so well that you hear it in your dreams and your nightmares. So when you're over-prepared, you can go in, and even if you're a little nervous, you're still going to perform at the highest level. So over-preparation, professionalism, extreme attention to detail, and then like when social media started to come along, I said, I'll hang my shingle there. I was one of the first guys on MySpace, and as soon as Facebook opened up to the public, I remember the day it opened to the public, I was sitting at a coffee shop in Nashville, and I was one of the first musicians to join. I said, I'm going to throw my hat in here. And it's just a modern version of a band putting up a gig flyer on a telephone pole, with staples. That's kind of what it is, So I tried to become an early adopter of social media. And so if you have an extreme skill set, it's been honed, you're a likable person, you're enthusiastic, you exceed expectations, you're a person of character and integrity. All these things factor into being someone that is more hireable and more desirable to be around. And it kind of speaks to this concept that I speak on regularly, which is called CRASH, which is an acronym which stands for commitment, relationships, attitude, skill, and hunger. So it's an easy thing to remember. So I was deeply committed to my craft. I invested in myself. I was so committed that I picked up my bags and I left a comfortable environment where I was working all the time, and I went into the unknown of Nashville. I realized that people are the gatekeepers of all things you want in life. So cultivating sincere, lifelong relationships is so important, and also realizing that attitude is really 99% of life. People like to be around people they know, they like, and they trust, and realizing that enthusiasm is contagious, so you can wield that like a sword. And then skill, developing those skill sets, and then never being the fat Elvis, continuing to develop new skill sets, and then staying hungry for success, having a fire that burns in your belly to be successful. So any person in any season of their life, in any skill track, especially in the creative arts, which is really the home to a lot of people that only use one side of their brains, and that's why you hear about so many creative people that are taken by their managers. They lose millions of dollars because they don't have a business acumen. So if you want to do this thing, you want to get paid for your creativity, you really have to have a little bit of a business mindset. So just realizing that, make a commitment to your craft, cultivate relationships, have a fantastic positive relationship, keep developing your skill sets, and then staying hungry for success in all seasons of your life. That's kind of like you do all those things synergistically together, you will be an unstoppable human being.
Yeah, you right there was worth the price of admission.
Drop the mic.
That's it. Boom, we're done. We can go home now. No, that was awesome. I appreciate that because you basically covered everything from a musical perspective, but yet it's the same in business. So you talked about being in the right place. That's networking. Moorman Photographics was built by networking with the people, the who's who in the Tampa Bay area that I live in order to get the jobs that are actually high-paying jobs, and there's respect in the fields when you get those jobs and all of those things that come with it. So you really hit that on the nail. I don't know how many people told me in the beginning that to be a photographer wasn't a thing. you can't do that. There's not a career in it. There's not, and here I am 28 years later, and we're rocking and rolling and doing all kinds of great things. Been flown out of the country to do photo shoots and blah, 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 and, all these great things. But I just wouldn't take no for an answer, and you didn't either. And then you positioned yourself through networking, through your skills, because you can network, but if you sit down at the drum set or behind the camera or, whatever job position they may end up with, and there's no meat behind it, it's not going to last very long.
Yeah, your extreme skill set is an expectation, but it's the other things, these soft skills, that really make people want to hire you and be around you. Like I said, being likable, being someone of character and integrity, being trustworthy, being a person of your word, exceeding expectations, being able to take direction from people. These are all things, and that's why things like, music education, like School of Rock and all these things that are around where kids can go learn, even if they don't become professional musicians, they learn these skill sets that they can take into any area of their life.
Yeah, it's a life-changing experience at that age, just to learn to have that commitment, to learn to also be a team player if they're working with a band and all of these other things. I love that. So on a different note, I'm going to change slightly. I always have something. I used to teach smaller crowds, obviously, 20 or 30 people, not 50,000. But nonetheless, I also occasionally will play the cajon at church, and I'll sit in. I get this great group. The name of the group is Barnabas, and they've been playing together for 30 years. And for whatever reason, they chose little old Rob to sit behind them. They're kind of acoustic, country, gospel, modern Christian. It's this ball of different. Yeah, they're really eclectic as far as the instruments they play and all of that. And they write their own stuff, and it's actually recordable, but they don't feel the need to go and take it to another level. But anyhow, having said that, we'll practice and practice and practice. I'm not as skilled as you are. I hate the term I play by ear, but I do. And so we'll practice, and I'll take direction. My friend Matt, who's a monster guitar player, will sit next to me on purpose, and we'll start doing the different beats and rhythms and getting them laid out. But I get to the stage. I call it a stage. My church is relatively large, 2,000 people, whatever.
Wow.
And
a mega church.
All that practice, and then I look out there, and it seems like it's all vanished up here in my head. It hasn't, because it seems to come out. But I hate that feeling of, oh my gosh, am I going to just start sending Morse code on this little cajon, or am I going to actually be playing what I should be, So what is the mental process? And I think someone about to make a big business deal, my other business, an RV resort, there's a lot of guys buying and selling properties, millions of dollars flying around. It has to feel similar to just before you go on stage, the energy, the excitement, before you walk into this bartering table, if you will, and make that. What do you go through to just kind of lock in and do exactly what you do?
Yeah, well, the touring thing is a lifestyle. I tell everybody my suitcase has been packed, sitting in my corner, looking at me like, when are we leaving again? For about 27 years. And it's just the thing, I come home, you do your laundry, and then you repack, and then you leave again. And it's just a great thing because I'm around a lot of my best friends, and I go out there and I get to entertain these people and take them out of their troubles and woes. And I get to bring these amazing, well-written songs to life every night. And it affects my life in a positive way, and then it affects other people in a positive. So it's just this amazing cycle of empowerment, and it's just a win-win thing. But every day I try to do something physical out there, to use my body, to stay flexible, to stay mobile, work my heart. I try to, I have weights under the bus, so I try to put heavy things over my head and, hold on to the muscle that I have, especially at my age. And because I know how to do paradiddles, when I was a young man, I have those tens of thousands of hours, right, left, right, left. I know how to do that. So really the most important thing in my life right now is diet, exercise, hydration, sleep, taking care of myself so I can go out there, because drummers are athletes. We really are. I had actually someone come out to the show. She was doing a 5-year study, an academic study on the caloric burn and the heart rate of rock drummers. And so she hooked up all these electrodes on me, and I burn 1,000 calories like every show at Jason Aldean. So
Wow.
you got to be in shape to do that. So that's a big focus. And then, right before the show, the stretching, I have the sticks in my hands. I have a little practice pad backstage, trying to get into the mental flow of what needs to happen, kind of going through the set list and thinking about little connective tissue things and things I have to remember. And then the band gets together about 90 minutes before the show so we can be in each other's energy circle and kind of all connect. And then I have this fun ritual that I've been tasked with from the last 15 years with Jason, where I do a sort of a quasi mini motivational like toast. We might have a little shot of something, and a lot of times I fake it. I just fake it, and I wait till after to have a cocktail. But I'm tasked with getting the guys in a fun mental state to go out there and do what we do, and it's just a fun thing, and it scratches my improv comedy motivational speaker thing, because I have to come up in the moment with something that's going to maybe make them laugh or inspire them to go out there and do what we do, So
Awesome.
that's really fun. So that's kind of what we do every day. It's fun being out there. We got three meals a day. The guys can go play pickleball. I go to the gym. I might go do a drum clinic. There's always friends to visit in each city, and there might be the local mom and pop coffee shop that I want to go to, or a used record store. So travel is great. It is the great educator. You know what I mean? If people get a chance to travel, do it. Do it.
Moorman Photographics, where every click captures the essence of life's most precious moments. Our studio stands as a beacon of creativity and professionalism, offering a myriad of services tailored to your every photographic need. Whether you seek a studio portrait or the allure of on-location sessions in the Tampa and St. Petersburg waterfronts or lush parks, we bring your vision to life with creativity and professionalism. Corporate headshots, we excel at those too, providing impeccable quality whether in studio or at your corporate headquarters. Need portraits for a large team or event? We orchestrate seamless setups for groups or individuals. But our expertise doesn't stop there. From high-end school portraits to photo restoration, from pet portraits to product images, our portfolio spans the spectrum of photographic artistry. Led by professionals with degrees in both photography and fine art, our team is dedicated to exceeding your expectations with every frame. Step into our studio, where creativity knows no bounds. Contact us to book your session today at moormanphoto.com.
I'm glad that you get some free time. When I was in motion picture and we traveled, the free time was minimal because they were 12, 18-hour days. You've filmed videos, you know that the intensity that goes into it. Well, I would go from gig to gig to gig.
Yeah.
And so it was that type of thing, which is why I got out. I did 10 years behind the scenes and got exhausted. Well, if you're in this area, the used record store is Bananas Records.
All right.
It's in St. Petersburg. Phenomenal. They have 3 locations. One of them is just a warehouse. And there's so many records in there, you can't even begin to browse it. And then one's an actual store, and you can shop at either one. I've started spinning records myself again. So I've got a buddy who is an audio junkie like I am, and he's been rebuilding for fun old Carver home audio systems from the 80s and 90s, higher-end stuff. And so I bought all that from him and set back up at my house and bought a turntable and the whole thing. And we're just killing it. What I missed in music, I think, with the advent of digital was a sound system where you can immerse yourself into the sound.
Yeah.
And, now you get a little Bluetooth speaker and it sounds like a tin can. And
it's not as fun.
No, it's not the same.
I'm doing the same thing. I got my Audio Technica, turntable, and you just, you have, light a candle, glass of red wine. You're like, hey, tonight's, Blue Note night, and I'm going to listen to Blue Note jazz, or there might be like the Laurel Canyon night, and you're pulling out all your Carole King and your James Taylor, and it's fun.
I'm glad also to know I'm not the only one that's diversified. My mood depicts the music I listen to. I always get frustrated with somebody that takes on one type of music. you wouldn't eat pizza all day, every day for the rest of your life. Why do you only take in one form of music? There's so much out there that
pizza could be the one food that you could almost eat every day. You're like, I got Chicago style, I got deep dish, I got New York style, I got Sicilian. It'd be like that scene out of Forrest Gump with the shrimp.
Yeah, you're right. But I want you to tell me, or tell my doctor, who was just recorded on this show recently, that that's okay to eat cheese every day of my life.
Just add some chicken to it. Just add some.
Then we'll be able to
get your protein. Yeah.
Make fun of it, right? Well, I love it. So you also do other things. And I'm hardly using my notes now because I was hoping we could get
I'm
into
glad. You don't need those notes.
So you do other things. Motivational speaker and acting. And you mentioned improv. Is that something you're doing? Are you, when you can, doing some stand-up?
Well, it's really funny. It's the last box that I haven't checked, and I know the owners of Zanies over here at Nashville, and they told me one time if I want to come up and do 3 minutes sometime, I could. But no. When I hit 45 and I went through my second divorce, it was like, it just happens after a divorce. You want to reinvent yourself a little bit, and I was like, I want to go and study acting and TV hosting and cartoon voiceover and improv comedy and storytelling. And I just went to LA, and I just was like, if I'm going to study these things, I'm going to go do it where everybody wants to do those things and the cream really rises. And so I'm really glad I did it. I've had a couple nice acting jobs, and I'm like most actors, I'm between jobs. And a lot of it just comes, down to scheduling. I mean, I was just on a short list to play a lead in a werewolf movie that was like a total SAG-AFTRA scale thing here in Nashville. So exciting. I was like, this would be great. It shoots during September, and I'm home like 4 days in September. So sometimes when you're a slave to that many masters, I've put myself in a position where I can be creative. Like I'm never staring at a white calendar. Like there's always something creative I could do every day. But no, when I was out in LA, about 5 years ago, I studied at the Upright Citizens Brigade, which is Amy Poehler and Tina Fey's comedy school.
Yeah.
And there is nothing more terrifying than walking out on a stage with paid customers and you have no idea what you're going to do with an improv comedy troupe, and you just make things happen. I recommend that for everyone.
I think the worst fear is dead air.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit of a clown and have done some of that at a local level, but the dead air is scary. And I also find behind the camera that little 5-8 foot area around my tripod is my stage, because it's my job to draw out an expression from the subjects in front of me, and humor, comedy, outgoing, being over and above your normal personality. And sometimes you get dead air, and even if it's a kid, it's like, oh, I guess that's not going to work. So it's awful. So what you just told me from a business perspective is, I always tell business owners, especially photographers, but others as well, to not have all your eggs in one basket.
True.
So anything in business can change at any time. So, this isn't a plug for me, but we do corporate events. We do location portraits. I just finished a big product shoot for a company that makes cables worldwide, military cables, boats, audio cables, all of that. And they needed product shots, so we spent our time in there doing all of that. But we also spend a time photographing headshots of executives and so on. So if all I did was school portraits, and let's say it was COVID again or whatever, right? Schools are shut down, money's gone. So what you've done is positioned yourself, because you are your business, same as myself, to have other things in case something in the path that you're on ends up changing or whatever. So I respect that. Is that kind of your thinking when you added other things to this?
Totally, because you kind of have to look at, your God-given abilities, and you'd be like, what am I really good at? So, when I go down my list of my skill sets, so like, okay, well, I'm a player. Okay, I could play live. I could play in the studio. I have my own home studio. I have a teacher's heart, which allows me to teach locally, to travel, to do clinics, to teach online. I can help develop products in my industry. I can write books. I'm a relatively effective communicator. I have the gift of gab. So, oh my God, I could do motivational speaking, and then I could do school events. And oh my God, I have a microphone in front of me. Let's create a podcast. So there's all these just kind of like fun things that are just out there in the universe. And what's funny about all the things that I do, if I chose, I can make a go of doing all of them full time. But at this particular moment, my job priority is that when Jason says the buses are rolling or jump on the private jet, we're going to Canada, I got to be there. So I'm fortunate enough that even though things come up, a lot of times a year in advance, I will get a PDF and I know where I'm going to be in the world. And that allows me to sprinkle all these other creative pursuits around it, which is, terribly exciting. So if a couple of them go away, there's other things that I could do to monetize. And that's the problem with monetizing the creative arts. It's like when you're putting a price on your time and talent, it gets very interesting because you don't want to be looking at a empty calendar. You got to keep that thing, Yeah.
So you've created diversity, but you've also created a way to keep yourself busy. And so I respect that. So when you're not on the road, what do? Sit around and eat Twinkies? No.
Yeah.
You're out doing what you need to do to enhance your career, stretch your mind, give to others by teaching.
Sure.
I've always wanted to make my way out to one of your clinics. Even though I would probably be the guy in the back of the line, it's all right. There would still be something there to learn.
Oh, yeah.
But because of my photography schedule, which is full on, I have a hard time. Every time you've promoted one online, I'll look at it and go, oh, I've got that big gig for such and such company. There's no way I could do it. So at some point, I'll show up. You'll have the old guy there with his drumsticks. And
I love it. Oh, what a blast.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So, all right, let's look at here and see, what advice do you have for business owners managing stress? So you mentioned a little bit about it, working out and so on, but I would imagine as much as you're passionate about what you do, there's still a level of stress to it.
Oh, yeah. The stress is working on your business, the scheduling and all the admin that comes with, like, even, when you're scheduling a motivational speech, my speech involves a drum set. So sometimes if I'm flying across the country and I got to go do a speech, I still have to line up a drum set, and then I'm running track. So I have to talk to the AV person, and then, oh my God, so who is there an MC that's going to introduce me? Oh, no, there's good. Okay, well, let's show my intro video. So you got to talk to the video guy, you got to talk to the sound guy, you got to get a drum set delivered, and then you got to handle all the stuff with the client. So everybody knows that there's all this admin stuff that's like, what, no one likes it. But these are the things you just have to do, that I have to do to find myself behind a set of drums or with a microphone in my hand all the time. So, finding some things that I don't really have a hobby, like as far as like collecting stamps or building ships in a bottle. I don't really do things that are just like unrelated to my craft. Like everything that I do that's hobbyish is still related to being, a musician or an educator. So reading, I love films, I love fine dining, I love connecting with like-minded friends, having a glass of California Pinot at the wine bar, like great coffee, smelling the roses, listening to the birds on my deck in my backyard and looking at the trees, and, just all these things that they recommend nowadays, which is, grounding, putting your feet on the earth, your bare feet on the earth, getting tons of water, electrolytes, getting direct sunlight, getting near bodies of water, walking on the beach, visiting family, even just making a phone call to friends and family, just positive things that are going to keep you around,
I love it.
On the earth, yeah.
That's actually excellent advice, and I think that we forget to do that, especially when you're in business or you own the business or you're in charge of it. You have all the weight of all those employees that are depending on you for their livelihood. You have the weight of whatever product it might be that you're producing, whether it's in art or whether it's more of a manufacturing situation. All of that weight is on that person that's running that, if you will, and so that's heavy. So you're right. The grounding thing has been really big lately. and take your shoes off, go stand in the yard, reconnect to the earth, and do all that. I love that. So that's important as well. Tell us a little bit, and then we'll move into some fun stuff, Rich, and talk a little bit more. You have your podcast, The Rich Redmond Show.
Yeah, real original name.
Well, mine started as the Camera Dude podcast just because I was simply called that. Years ago, I was photographing an event, and this kid walked up to me and goes, "Hey, Camera Dude," and it stuck. And
Dude,
so
that is great.
Yeah, so here it is. And why business? Well, just because I own two that are in two different worlds, and I'm fascinated at all the similarities of operating a business, including your world. You're the product in a way, and you're becoming part of another product, and together as a team, you guys are going out and creating this awesome music. Well, it would be the same thing as me providing photographs for a company that makes products and they need to sell them, and so we're collaborating in a way and becoming a team. And if you do your job right, it provides longevity with each of those clients. And for you, you're with Jason. I mean, you guys are probably like family at this point, I would imagine.
Oh, God. Yeah, we see each other way more than our normal families.
Yeah. That's the case. So, I didn't ask you, and I hope it's okay to, speaking of family, you have no kids. Are you?
I am childless.
Childless? And are you footloose and free, or are you connected? And
Oh, no, I have a wonderful girlfriend, Kara, who I've been seeing for a long, long time. She's a beautiful fashion designer, and she's had her own brands, and she's worked for all the big box stores and little, boutique high-end fashion brands. And it's amazing because we have a lot in common. She basically has a high skill set that allows her to make people look beautiful, and when you wear a piece of clothing that makes you feel great, you walk a foot taller, you look at yourself differently in the mirror, and it's like I discovered the importance of really even more being well dressed by being with Kara. So my clothing bill is way higher since I started dating her. But
I love it. Well, maybe I need to borrow her advice, and because this loud shirt and hat I'm wearing right now, maybe I could have a change up.
I love
Who
it.
knows?
They're like, there's the camera dude.
That's it. This is him. Well, tell me a little bit about drums. So, as a photographer, there's specific camera brands, certain types of lenses, certain type of lighting that provides a soft, attractive light, and all the tools that I use in my studio. My goodness, my place is packed full of tools, which, being over-prepared, as you mentioned earlier, allows me to show up, have more than I need, but be able to do what I need to do. I'm sure you have several snare drums off to the side somewhere, right? If you blow one, you bring in another one, it's already tuned and ready to go. Same thing.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
If I'm in the middle of the father-daughter Girl Scout dance and we're doing 300 couple portraits in one night and one of my lights blows, it happened, thing caught on fire. Inside this really old building known as the Coliseum in St. Pete. It was built in the 30s or 40s. And so I ran outside with it, threw it in the parking lot, and it went out because now it was unplugged, and came back in, put a new one in, and kept rocking, and almost didn't miss a beat other than I didn't want the smoke to set off the fire alarm and ruin these people's event. I don't know why it caught on fire. It was a new product. So that part was kind of scary to me. But anyhow, tell us about drum equipment. So I pick my photography equipment because it works well, it's dependable, or it gives me a certain creative look or desire. Who's your favorite? What are you using? Who's behind you? Who's behind the Rich Redmond power machine?
Oh, man, it's sweet. Yeah, just so many companies that, believe in me, and, having that professional relationship with them. These companies are looking for creative people to provide exposure for their products. And it's just this kind of like a symbiotic relationship. They want to see that particular brand on the award shows and in music videos and on records and at educational events. So companies like DW Drums, Remo Drumheads, Sabian Cymbals, ProMark Drumsticks, Grover Tambourines. Oh God, there's probably 50 brands I endorse over the years. But those are the big ones, having a drum company, having heads to put on the drums, having cymbals to play, having sticks in your hands. And, these are brands that I would be playing if they didn't support me. But having the support is amazing, which allows me to, say, I get to do a television show in New York City with Jason Aldean, I have these relationships with these companies, and they provide for like next to nothing except for like putting it in the van and driving it over to the Good Morning America. These products for me to play, but they're just, they're all like very forward thinking, world class musical products, and everybody's making great stuff these days. It's just all kind of apples and oranges,
Okay, and I find that to be the same, unless you're looking for a certain sound, a crash that's maybe a little deeper or darker than normal, and, whatever sound you're looking to uphold the sound that you create, which fascinates me because every drummer has a drum set, but yet every drummer has their own sound.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's because it's in the hands. It's not really the equipment. I mean, the equipment factors into it. Of course, you want a high level musical instrument to inspire you that's going to be super quality, that's going to sound good. But a good drummer can take an entry level drum set, which is a nice $600 drum set, and you put some heads on there. You know how to tune your instrument, and you have a touch, and the touch is in your hands. So you take your tone with you as a musician. It's definitely not the instrument itself. It's the combination of your technique and your touch on that instrument that creates your tone. So it is a very personal thing. 10 different drummers can play the same beat on the same set of drums, and they're all going to have a different tone.
Fascinating to me. I have, in teaching, I would have a class of 10 or 15 people in there, and I would give them one subject and tell them all to photograph it. And if there's 15 people in the class, I got 15 totally different views of the same main subject.
That's very interesting.
It's fascinating to see that. You would see it come out like that. Creativity is subjective. I remember back in my photography class, very simple. This was way back, and 28 years ago, I hate to say. But my instructor gave us all a baked potato, or a plain potato, uncooked, nothing. And he says, you have to photograph it. You can't add anything to it and take anything away. Well, okay, all of us go into the mode of, and myself included, I realized I kind of dropped the ball, and, food photography. So we bake the potato, and it's steaming and all of this. No, my friend Dave, I don't know where he is in the world now, but we were buds while we were going through class, took the potato, cut it into perfect squares, took the skin, made little circles out of it, and turned that potato into 2 pairs of dice and photographed it. So obviously he won the award for that particular week's competition in the class because he thought outside of the box. And the rest of us kind of followed the masses, if you will. And why I thought my picture would be different if I was doing what everybody else was, I have no idea. But that was a lesson for me. I no longer do that. Yeah. I ask myself just before I go to take an image or I'm planning the photo shoot, what can I do to make this different? And I usually answer myself. It usually comes out, while I'm driving on the way there or whatever it is. So it's kind of cool. Another question for you. Let's amp this up. I've heard you talk about it on the Rich Redmond show. It's AI. And, that affects us as photographers. So I'm a headshot guy. I'll go into a company. We just did a big medical company, 200 headshots in a day, blah, blah, blah. And, we'll take those images. Well, now you can also go to your phone and upload 5 terrible cell phone pictures of yourself, and it'll produce a headshot of you with studio lighting on a lit background. And on a scale of 1 to 10, it's an 8.5 or a 9. It's pretty good product. So kind of like what you talked about the show I just listened to, there's always the whole drum machine thing and then AI taking over your job. I still think it's the human touch, the human style, the human interaction for a photographer anyways. How has this affected your industry, and what are, let me back up. The reason for the question is in business, if the industry changes, you have to kind of zig when the world zags in order to stay open, in order to be relevant, to make changes. So we're embracing it. We're using it for our editing. It's helping us in our retouching and culling down images. And actually, we're buying back some more time personally so that we can have a little extra time. So how are you using that, or how do you see it affecting the industry?
Yeah, I think it's yet to be determined, but it's a scary thing. I had a friend, we were going to breakfast, and he just had this little AI app, and he prompted, and he said, write a 3-chord country song in the style of Hank Williams about Rich and Larry getting breakfast. And it, ba-bom, bom, bonk, bing, good. And it sounded like it was mixed in 1950. That's crazy. That's a tool. That's right now, that is a tool. And there's actually some amazing pop country songs that are being written by AI that are like, whoa, all the things, the Bonfires and the Daisy Dukes, and it just kind of all works. But still, that is the thing. I think that the humanity is always going to win. Like a drum machine still had to be programmed by a human being using their creativity. AI is completely out of our hands. It's scrubbing the internet to create something that we prompted. What's really weird is you can be an author. If you know the rules on how to prompt AI, you can write an AI book, and I think it's license free, and you could publish it. I mean, there's a lot of legal things are going to come up as a result of this. I hope that the legal system keeps up. I think we're already behind in kind of like.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So it's all yet to be determined. But I do know that for the most part, people are going to want a live human being hitting the drums behind them, right? People are going to want to see a live motivational speaker sweating and ranting and pacing around a stage, And then the actor thing is really creepy to go in and, these day players that make a living in Los Angeles, whatever they make is like a $80 to $120 a day, and they've got the craft service table, and they're just barely surviving. Their background actors, they're hoping for their big break, and now these AI is going to take their image and reuse it, and that's like, come on, guys, that is not cool. That is some scary stuff.
That's happening in photography, more in the art realm versus the commercial realm that I'm in. Is that they'll I call them watchdogs. So you go into AI and you say, make me a picture about dogs, okay? And it'll go out and steal little hints from all these other photographs and build them into one. That bothers me. I don't like that either. First of all, as you know, there's a copyright issue there. The author of the photograph, the author of the song. At least in photography, we own that right for that image for 50 years after I die, so that family and loved ones could produce a living if they needed to from my life's work. No different than, if you've written a song, or Jason or whoever, it's that same problem. But yet that AI that created that song for you, and by the way, I'm glad you did the mouth drum thing. I was hoping he did that on my podcast, so thanks. You made my day earlier. Anyhow, having said that, it's scary to me because we're at a point where are we going to decipher what's fact or what's fiction, And that's the key. So listen, time is short, and you have blessed me with a lot of time, and I appreciate that. So I have some questions that are quick and fun, and then we'll wrap it up and kind of get you to a place where we can do it. I know that you guys listening have learned a lot from Rich. I know that I have, and I know the principles that he's applied in his business where he is the product, absolutely applied to running a business, especially for the photographers that are following this. It's important for us to be diligent, to follow the crash. Tell us the crash again one more time for closing.
Stands for commitment, relationships, attitude, skill, and hunger. And I even wrote a book. It's on, Jeff Bezos will lick a stamp and we'll send it to you, or you can download it to your Kindle. Or if you're an Audible person, my book, I read it. I will read it to you as a free offering on Audible. So.
Awesome. All right, man. I'm glad that you brought that up because I've heard you mention crash before on your show, and I was fascinated by that. So that's a good thing. I stole these questions from a gentleman. Well, I used to watch James Lipton. Do you remember the Inside the Actors? All right. He would use these questions. I took one out because I didn't want to create dirty language. However, it was probably my favorite question.
Will Ferrell does a good James Lipton.
Does he? All right, I'll have to look for that because he was one of my favorite guys. So, Rich, what is your favorite word?
I say epic a lot. It's going to be epic, and then I have a lot of friends who are like, man, I've never seen a text from you without 3 exclamation points. And so I'm not shouting at people with my exclamation points. I use exclamation points to convey enthusiasm.
I agree with you. And I think I used the word epic in responding to your email to set this up. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing. I learned it from the young people in my life where I'm at right now. I'm sitting inside the Naaman Creative Studios, and they produce podcasts. I'm too busy to manage my own. So I come in, I get the content, I get, folks like yourself to come in, and then they'll edit it, clean it up, produce it, and distribute it for me because I don't have it. All right, back to this. What is your least favorite word?
You know what they're throwing around so much nowadays, and it's hopefully it's cycling. Iconic. Everyone and everything is iconic. It's not iconic if everyone and everything is iconic.
Yes. And the word I hear a lot, and I love things that are amazing, but the word amazing is used constantly. That's super amazing. It's a social media thing. Makes me crazy because, I love amazing things, but
I overuse that one too.
Yeah, that's my fault too. I picked it up. All right, so in life, buddy, what turns you on?
Friendly people.
I love it. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
So in life, what turns you off?
Jerks.
Just the opposite, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Wherever there's light, the opposite of that is shadow. So
I know. I mean, George Lucas was really on to something with Star Wars, man. The classic tale of good versus evil.
It's. I think it's legit, if you ask me, which is another word, by the way, that gets used a lot.
Legit. It's fire.
I love it. I'm down with it. All right. So what sound or noise do you love?
There's nothing like going to a sound check before you put your in-ear monitors in and you hear a mic'd up snare drum with a little bit of reverb on it in a arena. You know what I mean? Like 20,000 people are going to hear that snare drum. It's amazing.
I love it. And the bodies aren't there to absorb it yet during sound tech. So you just hear it going through the, all right. I'm going to show up. So you let me just hit your snare once so I can kind of get that energy. I'm just pulling your leg, but I could imagine that. And of course, what noise or sound do you dislike?
Oh God, two things come to mind. At the airport, where when someone opens a door and it's got that, and then it's like, will someone please close? And it always takes like 30 minutes to find the person who knows how to close it or shut the alarm. Okay, and then people that are in public that talk on speakerphone. You know what I mean? They should be like tarred and feathered. You know?
I agree with you. I'll hold them down. You get the feathers and the tar. We'll, it's awful. I don't like vehicles that beep when they back up. I understand we're trying not to run over people, but if you're not part of what's going on and it's behind you somewhere, what an annoying sound.
Sure.
And leaf blowers, even though I use one all the time, it's, that's kind of annoying too.
Amazing.
All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Well, I feel like when I went and, I studied acting, it was like just some weird calling in my gut. It was like, hey, I'm kind of like a outgoing person, and I could try this and I'm not trapped behind the drums. So that was I'm still going to do it. I'm just waiting for my next fun thing that's going to work with my schedule. And then, I always tell people that I probably would have been amazing in sales, be employee of the month at some big box store, the first month, because, it's just, there's an art form in sales. And I think that you and I are in sales. I mean, no one's going to hire us to do our craft until we make the soft sell,
Exactly. And that's something I've learned is I always thought outside sales for a big company would be an interesting job. Manning a booth at trade shows, going to networking groups and promoting whatever it is. If I believe in what that company's producing, I can sell it.
Yeah, because I hate bad salespeople. Like sometimes when you go into like a Guitar Center and you go into the drum department and it's like, hello, is anybody working here? And then if you can finally get somebody that's actually working there, is this some just really hating life millennial that just doesn't want to be there? It's just like playing with their phone. It's like, no, man, if I'm working in the drum department, like, what's up, man? How you doing? Come on in. Let me know if you need anything. What are you looking for today? Jam with the person, ask them questions. Like, I would kill that.
Yeah, I know it. Same here. It's all about people. You're outgoing A-type personality. So am I. And we love people. We have to. First of all, that's what we do. And secondly, it's that outgoing nature. And the fact that whether I had a job that was simple or I'm blessed with the job that I have, or your job, you're blessed with that level and position that you've worked your way into. But even if I didn't, I would try to find joy in everything I do. And I think that at my other business, the RV park, I'll get employees who, unfortunately, don't last long because of attitude, or they don't care. They're not trying to be a part of the family that's running the business there. They're not trying to. What they don't understand is every time they slack in what they do, it's actually affecting their paycheck in the long run. It's a small business. So if a client gets upset because of poor quality, poor service, or whatever, they leave. So it actually goes against their goal of making more money in life if they don't jump on the wagon that we started in this RV park and become part of a team. That guarantees your paycheck because people are happy and money's coming in. So that person behind the counter, I won't mention a name. There's a music store.
They're the face of your brand, whoever is behind the counter. I mean, they are the direct line to the public. And I think as a general rule, most companies are under-training their employees, and they're not emphasizing the right things. Of course, you got to have this, I just, what comes to mind, why do I go to Starbucks? Well, it's one thing that I can lean my hat on that is somewhat regular. It's normalizes life on the road. It's I can go get my iced coffee, and those dang egg whites are so consistent. If you're in Bahrain or Boston, they're the same thing. And usually the person by the they're trained pretty well. Hey, Rich, how you doing? They make you feel good, you justify paying $5 for a coffee. Or when you go to Chick-fil-A and they're like, my pleasure. The Chick-fil-A is training their employees properly.
They are the best, even here, and they're packed. They're busier than the Golden Arches or any of these other companies because of the quality, service, and consistency in what they provide, which, by the way, that's what you've shown us that you've done with your career. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I've always followed you right off the bat, as I said in the beginning. I'm grateful to have been able to and continue to see you on social media, all the great things you were doing. Every time you announce you're going to be on the CMA Awards playing or whatever, Rob's tuned in, say, hey, let's see what Rich is doing. I like Jason, but I'm not watching Jason. I'm watching the drummer because I'm a drummer. I'm a drummer at heart. Yeah, so it's all good. So before we close out and I read my little ending here, tell everybody, even though you've done some of it, where can they find Rich Redmond? How can they follow you? You've got a book. You've got your show. Lay it all out. What websites do you have going?
Sure, yeah, richredmond.com. It's REDMOND.com. richredmond.com is the hub for all things. There's, you could pretty much it's like a hub for all. It's a hub for all things. And then on the socials, it's just my name. So I'm on the Twitter and the TikTok and the Facebook and the Instagram, and I have a YouTube channel with 700 videos, how-tos, behind the scenes, lessons, that kind of stuff. So, I try to respond to every single message.
Wow. So that's actually you responding. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. I figured you had a big team somewhere.
That'd be amazing.
You had your feet up drinking Starbucks somewhere else, right?
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Well, listen, I'm stoked. One of my favorite drummers is here on the Camera Dude podcast. I can't believe it. If you want to be a drummer, tune into Rich Redmond. If you want to learn his business acumen, I really want you to still tune into Rich Redmond, because the things that he has done to make his life successful, you can emulate, and I know that it'll work in your business. So thank you for hanging out with us on the Camera Dude podcast. Remember always, reach out to those who have paved the way ahead of you for success. They are a great resource. Until the next one, stay safe, be peaceful, and always look up for directions in life. Catch you on the next Camera Dude podcast.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks for tuning in to the Camera Dude Podcast. Don't forget to visit us at cameradudepodcast.com for more episodes and exclusive content. Connect with Rob Moorman on moormanphoto.com to explore his professional photography. And when you're ready to hit the road, make memories at sunburstrvresort.com. Until next time, keep capturing moments and chasing dreams. See you on the next episode of the Camera Dude Podcast.